Consider essential oils and Young Living as a healthy alternative to chemicals in your home and your lifestyle. Today we're going to back up a little bit and we're going to talk about essential oil history. They're all the craze right now. Everybody's hyped up about essential oils, but really they've existed for quite some time on this planet. In fact, they're first mentioned in the Bible in Genesis, the first book of the Bible, Genesis, chapter 37, when the slave traders that took Joseph carried spices, balm, and myrrh. There are many more references to essential oils throughout the Bible. In fact, there's about 1,100 indirect or direct references within the scripture. And even outside, And even outside of the scripture, there's reference to them in our ancient cultures that we know about. In fact, the Babylonians placed orders for cedar wood, myrrh, and cypress. The Egyptians used essential oils for beauty and embalming. In fact, they have the oldest recorded deodorant recipe made with essential oils. Cultures in Pakistan and Rome used essential oils in their communal bathhouses. And the medieval Europeans brought oils into Europe following the Crusades. And then we have kind of this time period where essential oils drop away globally. And then they are rediscovered again in World War II. And if you think historically about what happens after the medieval era, you have the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is this birth of scientific discovery. And so you can imagine the culture at the time was looking at these old medicinal practices that were being used in an almost religious manner, and you had people that were skeptical of that. They didn't really see the scientific value in that type of medicine. Little did they know that later on, as our technology advanced, we would be able to actually examine those essential oils for their properties that are effective in supporting the health and wellness of your body. So we have this humongous time period where there aren't really a lot of essential oils being used. But in World War II, they do start to be used again. As the nurses are treating warriors on the battlefield, they begin to run out of modern medicine. And so being in France at the time where they still kind of were using essential oils, these nurses came across those essential oils and started to use and treat the soldiers with those oils. And so even though it's a really bad circumstance that essential oils are kind of rediscovered, it's really a silver lining for us in the modern world, because now we have access to them again and people are starting to become more interested in what they can do for our health naturally. So out of this rich history of essential oil usage, you have some different schools of thought on how to use essential oils develop. And the three main ones that we're going to focus on are the ones that Young Living endorses for their products. And they are the English, the French, and the German method. The English method is to use essential oils topically by rubbing it on your skin. You're welcome to use a carrier oil like coconut oil to help spread that oil out and dilute it, dilute some of that potency of the oil. Then you have the French, who recommend ingesting the oils, and you can do that in a variety of different ways. You can put that in your water. You can put it in the little veggie capsules that you can buy from Young Living and take it almost kind of like a pill. You can also cook with them. We have a line of essential oils called the Vitality line, and they are marketed exclusively for cooking. There's no major difference between the Vitality line and the regular oils, just that we have precautions in the United States that if we're going to recommend it for ingesting, then you need to label it differently than the ones that we recommend for topical and diffusing. And so then the third and final usage that we have available is the German method, and this is the one that I think people are most familiar with, and that's diffusing them. In fact, I'm diffusing right now. I'm diffusing Clarity, so hopefully I'm presenting this in a clear sort of way to you. Um, Sometimes people really advocate diffusing, and sometimes they don't. But really, it's one of the most effective methods because it doesn't have to pass through your digestive system. Sometimes your digestive system is what holds up how quickly these oils affect your body. And so with inhalation, it's much, much quicker. It's the one that we really recommend with Young Living. You go ahead and you get the diffuser, because once you have that diffuser, you're really getting the full experience with your essential oils. Essential oils enter our bodies very, very quickly, like I just mentioned, especially when you're using a topical or inhalation method. So when inhaled, tests have shown that oils reach the heart, liver, and thyroid in 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Smell the oil. 1, 2, 3. Already in your heart, liver, and thyroid. So that's fast. That's so much faster than I can think of any other type of medicine I've used. When you use them topically, it's a little bit slower at 26 seconds. So count to 26 seconds, and at that point, your heart, your liver, and your thyroid have been reached by these essential oils and those organic compounds that are meant to help support them. That is pretty fast. I can't think of anything else that works faster in your body. So that's a pretty amazing thing. And generally, they last pretty long. They can last anywhere from 3 to 6 hours in a normal, healthy body. So pretty effective for entering your body and staying in your body for quite some time period. There are different grades of oils out there. So we have 4 different grades. Grade A is therapeutic. It's made from organically grown plants and distilled at low temperatures. Now, there are some different regulations out there in the United States. The only one that the FDA is concerned with is setting a standard of 5% purity in your essential oils. So you have a lot of oils out on the market that are labeled as pure, but they're not. They have just the 5% purity that they can get away with legally. Young Living, hold the phone, actually goes as far as 100%, and there's third-party testing out there that can affirm that, and we'll get more into that here in a minute. After grade A therapeutic, which is what Young Living is at 100% purity, we have grade B, which is food grade. These can contain synthetics, pesticides, fertilizers, chemical extenders, or carrier oils. So really, you don't want to be using a food grade oil really anywhere in your home if you're trying to avoid chemicals. Grade C would be our perfume level oils. These contain adulterating chemicals and solvents so that they can gain a higher yield and make more money. These solvents have been found to be cancerous and are in many store-bought oils. So if you think about some of those popular brands out there right now that have just come out with their own brand of essential oils, they may smell great, but the reason they smell so good is because they're that perfume grade and they have a solvent in them, and that's why you're getting them for so cheap. They can be diluted as far as anywhere between 80 to 95% with alcohol. And so obviously you wouldn't want to use alcohol, on your skin for certain reasons because it might burn. And there's a lot of essential oils out there that we recommend are great for skin health, but I would hate for you to go ahead and grab one of those cheap oils, put it on your body, and regret it because it starts burning. And then we have grade D floral water. This is aromatic only, and it's usually a byproduct of grade A distillation. After the oil is pulled out, the leftover floral water is sold to companies. Then, in turn, they will fill 5% of the bottle with this floral water and top the rest off with carriers and label it pure. And there are a few different essential oil brands out there that do just this. And some of them are a little bit more open with saying that that's what they do, and some of them are not so much. So you really have to do your research and trust your brand. So, like I said, there's a lot of different grades out there. Young Living is the best on the market. They are 100% natural, 100% pure, and they have the third-party testing to back it up. They have what Young Living has, what they call the Seed to Seal promise. It's not a slogan, it's a promise to you as a consumer that they are not building a product for selling, but a product for a purpose in your body. And so that starts as far as picking out the seeds. When you research other companies, you can see that they're not really concerned about the seeds and the cultivating and all the farming. They're really more worried about the distillation and marketing it to you. Young Living goes all the way back to the literal root of the plant to make sure that it's 100% pure. So they select seeds that are 100% pure. They select farm ground based on how the soil sampling and testing goes. And to ensure that there's no crossover of pesticides onto those farms, they buy 100 acres around each farm that they purchase for producing a plant, just to ensure that there's no sort of crossover. So then they move on to the cultivation side. There are no plants that are affected by pesticides or chemicals. There are no weed killers. In fact, our plants are hand weeded. And Young Living is as open as you want them to be. You could literally stop by any of their farms at any time, go in there and help hand weed. You can be involved in the process of producing that oil. The essential oils are harvested at their peak, not before, not after, to meet supply and demand needs. So sometimes things do go out of stock, but that's because, like I said, they're producing a product with a purpose and not a product for a profit. And then they have the distillation. So they go on to our distilleries where they are distilled with the highest grade of technology available and produced in a pure manner. They are then sent on to testing, third-party testing, because they know as a company and as a person that you're not going to trust just their word that they're 100% pure. They have the tests out there and are more than willing to let you look at them and see them to see for yourself that these oils are 100% pure. And any oil that doesn't match up to par is nixed. They will not put it in a bottle and go ahead and try to sell it to you. If it's not what their standard is, then it's gone. And then finally, if it does pass through all that testing, it's sealed and bottled and sold to you and your family so that you can have assurance that from literally the seed to the seal that there were no chemicals invading these therapeutic oils. So, I say Young Living is the best. And you're sitting there, well, there's a lot of different essential oils out there on the market. How are these essential oil companies able to sell it so much more cheaply? Well, of course, they do so to save money, and they do it by adding those chemical solvents. If you spray your crop with pesticides, you're going to end up with more crops to distill. So it's harder to hand weed it. Young Living goes ahead and does that anyways because they're producing that product with a purpose. If you use a chemical solvent to extract the oil, you're going to pull more of that essential oil out. But in doing so, of course, you're going to add chemical to the oil. And then, of course, finally, the last one, if you dilute it with a cheaper oil or a carrier oil, you stretch the oil you have distilled. You're able to make the product cheaper because you can produce more of it and sell more of it, but you're really not producing the kind of high-quality product that our modern consumers are looking for. It's just like every other product out there. Most essential oils are sold more cheaply because companies cut corners, and that's just not something that Young Living is willing to do. So I hope that kind of explains, I know we talked about a lot of different things. I hope that explains, where essential oils come from. They're not just this like fancy new age thing that came out of nowhere. And I hope that kind of explains to you why